Hey pups, Badwolf here, and today is going to be a very special video. This video has me and my son in it for the first time that I've been able to call him and read him a story in 4 years. So this is a very special video to me. I'm not entirely sure if I'll be making this video public, but this is kid-friendly. This is a different kind of thing that I've been doing before, and this has a special place in my heart just because I really do miss my son. I cannot wait to have him back in my life more than I do now. I really hope you guys like this, and I hope that for those of you that don't get stories read to you, or just those who enjoy stories, I hope you enjoy this kind of series. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Bye, pups. So, would you like Daddy to read you a story?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of story would you like?
What kind of stories are there?
Well, okay. I'll read you the titles and then you pick one title and then we'll pick a story from that title, okay? Because this is like a book of a lot of stories.
Okay, I'm ready for stories.
Are you? Okay. So, you can choose from Wise Folk, Trickery and Mischief, Animal Antics, Girls and Boys, Royal Adventures, Fantastic Journeys, Good Deeds, Favorite Tales, Fun and Nonsense, or Magic and Mystery.
Magic and mystery.
Magic and Mystery, okay. So, there's a story called The Fairy Cow. I don't know why. Patty... Wow. I can't even read that word. Patty Cochran's Wife.
What?
I don't know, man. I'm just reading the titles. I'm just here to read the thing. The Three Wishes, The Mermaid of Zenor, Pandora's Box, Rapunzel, The Fairy Blackstick, The Smith and the Fairies, Billy Beg, Tom Beg and the Fairies. Why are there so many fairies? The
Black stick.
You want the Fairy Blackstick?
Yeah.
And then there's the Magic Porridge Pot. Whatever the heck that is.
Actually, magic porridge.
You want to read the Magic Porridge Pot? Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah, you would, wouldn't you? Alright. Hold on, Daddy, gotta find the page. 503. Where are you, 503? Nope. Not even at 500 yet. Why are you going so slow? There you go. Alrighty then. You ready?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so this is the Magic Porridge Pot, a Swedish folktale. This is the story of an old porridge pot. One day, just before Christmas, a poor old farmer and his wife decided that they needed to sell their last cow, as they had no money left and no food in the cupboard. As the farmer walked sadly to market with the cow, he met a very strange little man on the road. He had a long white beard right down to his toes, which were bare, and he wore a huge black hat, under which the farmer could only see the bright gleam in his eyes. Over his arm he carried a battered old porridge pot. "That's a nice-looking cow," said the little man. "Is she for sale?" "Yes," said the farmer. "I shall buy your cow," declared the little man, putting the porridge pot down with a thump. "I shall give you this porridge pot in exchange for your cow." Is this guy dumb? Who gives us a... What? Would you change a porridge pot for a cow?
No.
Like, you just like, no, I'm not going to give you my cow. This is a cow that gives me milk and or food. Your pot gives me pot. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's silly. Well, the farmer looked at the battered old porridge pot and he looked at his fine cow, and he was just about to say, "Certainly not," when a voice whispered, "Take me, take me." The farmer shook himself. Dear me. It was bad enough to be poor without begging to hear strange voices. He opened his mouth again to say "certainly not" when he heard the voice again. "Take me, take me." Well, he saw at once that it must be a magic pot, and he knew you didn't hang about with magic pots. So he said very quickly to the little man, "Certainly," and handed over the cow. He bent down to pick up the pot, and when he looked up, the little man had vanished into thin air. The farmer knew he was going to have a difficult time explaining to his wife just how he had come to part with their precious cow for a battered old porridge pot. She was very angry indeed, and had started to say a lot of very cross things when a voice came from the pot. "Take me inside, clean me and polish me, and you shall see what you shall see." Well, the farmer's wife was astonished, but she did as she was bid. She washed the pot inside and out, and then she polished it until it shone as bright as a new pin. No sooner had she finished than the pot hopped off the table and straight out of the door. Wow, okay. Well, you got nothing then. So, haha. So,
nothing but... yeah.
Yeah, so they cleaned it all up, they made it all shiny, and then it was like, yeah, thanks for the bath, and then ran away.
Wow.
Yeah, right? The farmer and his wife sat down by the fire, not saying a word to each other. They had no money, no cow, no food, and now it seemed they didn't even have their magic pot. Down the road from the poor farmer there lived a rich man. He was a selfish man who spent all his time eating huge meals and counting his money. He had lots of servants, including a cook who was in the kitchen making a Christmas pudding. The pudding was stuffed with plums, currants, and all this sultanas. I don't know what a sultana is. Almonds, and goodness knows what else. It was so big that the cook realized she didn't have a pot to boil it in. It was at this point that the porridge pot trotted in the door. "Goodness me," she exclaimed, "the fairies must have sent this pot," again with the fairies, "just in time to take my pudding," and she dropped the pudding in the pot. No sooner had the pudding fallen to the bottom with a very satisfying thud than the pot skipped out the door again. The cook gave a great shriek, but by the time the butler and the footman and the parlor maid and the boy who turned the spit had all dashed into the kitchen, the pot was quite out of sight. So now it ran away again, but now it's full of food. So, this is a very evil pot. So if a pot shows up at your door, just don't let it in the house, okay? Yeah, because that's creepy. The porridge pot, in the meantime, trotted down the road to the poor farmer's house. He and his wife were delighted to see the pot again, and even more pleased when they discovered the wonderful pudding. The wife boiled it up, and it lasted them for 3 days. So they had a good Christmas after all, while the old porridge pot sat quietly by the fire. Okay, so it went back to the poor people with the food, so that's good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good idea. So it's not an evil pot. It's just like, oh, you have too much food. Here, let me take your food away. Thank you, bye. Spring came, and still the porridge pot sat quietly by the fire. Then one day, the pot suddenly trotted over to the farmer's wife and said, "Clean me and polish me, and you shall see what you shall see." So the farmer's wife polished the pot till it shone as bright as a new pin. No sooner had she pinned it... I can't spell. Read. No sooner had she finished than the pot hopped off the table and straight out of the door. You will remember that the rich man was very fond of counting his money. There he sat in the great hall with piles of golden coins and silver sixpences on the table, and great bulging bags of coins on the floor at his feet. He was wondering where he could hide the money when in trotted the pot. Now the cook had been far too frightened out of the rich man's temper to tell him about the pot stealing the Christmas pudding. So when he saw the pot, he was delighted. "Goodness me," he exclaimed. "The fairies must have sent this pot just in time to take my money." What? Wait, what? To take my money? What? So you want the pot to take your money? What are you... What? Why would you want it to take your money? That makes no sense. Why... A magic pot walks in the door. "Hey, yeah, sure, I'll put my money in this magic disappearing pot." Really? Wow, smart. Anyway, so don't do this, ever. Put money in a pot that runs away. Because that's just dumb. And he dropped several bags of money in the pot. Yeah, because he's the smartest guy ever. Yep, just because. No sooner had the bags fallen to the bottom with a very satisfying clink than the pot skipped out of the door again. Oh, surprise, I didn't know it was going to do that. Yep. This guy's real smart. The rich man shouted and hollered, but by the time the coachman and the head groom... How did this man get so rich? He's not very smart. Like, I don't understand. And the head groom and the stable lad and all these other people that are apparently in this castle at the same time ran into the grand hall. The pot was quite out of sight. It trotted down the road to the poor farmer's house. He and his wife were delighted to see the pot again, and even more pleased when they discovered the bags of gold and silver. There was enough money to last them for the rest of their days, even after they had bought a new cow. As for the battered old porridge pot, it sat quietly by the fire for many a long year. Then one day it suddenly trotted straight out the door. It went off up the road and it was out of sight, and the farmer and his wife never saw it again. That was weird. That was a weird story.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so the moral of that story, I think, is if you find a magic pot, don't throw money in it because it'll run away with it. Also, I mean, you know, I think it's giving money from the rich to the poor, so that's good. It's being a good pot. I don't know. There's not really a whole bunch of morals I can glean from a Swedish folktale.